Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second annual live Striptal Conference. A very warm welcome to you all, and I hope you enjoy our episode today. Joining me today from the US, who has 32 years experience with the US AD as a soil scientist, who is now a soil agronomist, actually a lead agronomist for Orthman Manufacturing for the last 10 years. I'd like to introduce you to Mike Peterson and myself, Brian Nevote.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I am fantastic.
Great. So, just to give you everyone a bit of information, we will be running through a bit of a trial, what we've been doing here in South Africa. Mike is going to be sharing some information from his side as well. Before we kick it off, and I'd like to just thank a couple of sponsors and guys for being part of this. Pro Agri, Lazar for the video, and as well the guys that's doing the streaming. So I want to start off with our Striptal presentation, just to give you guys a little bit more information on what we've been doing. Please feel free to ask the questions. There will be a contact detail in emails on the screen. You guys can see it. If there's any information, please feel free to contact us, or drop your comments below, subscribe to our channel. So, we kick off the 2021 Striptal research trials. Just so that everyone knows, Orthman is a US company based in Lexington, Nebraska. We have a facility in South Africa, which is in Brits, and we have started this year doing some trials here in South Africa. So there's just the image exactly where it is. That is where we're focusing on our trials. Just to give you guys a little bit more information, our global business is across the globe in 19 different countries. Just letting everyone knows is, we actually are a world-leading Striptal company. Which is, the name is the One Tripper. I'm sure we'll show a little image of what our One Tripper looks like, and so that's basically where our focus is with the two countries. And where's our Striptal trial based? It's in Gauteng, which is pretty much north of South Africa. It's about 15 kilometers outside Heidelberg. And then just to give a bit more information, what are we going to be looking at? What is our focus? As Orthman, we focus on three principles in tillage. Now, the first one will be the ideal seedbed preparation. Second one, precision nutrient placement. And the third is optimal root zone conditioning. These are three main important facts that we as a company look in. And I urge you guys to keep this in mind. The three facts, that's why I've labeled them 1, 2, and 3, is at the end, we're going to bring it back up again. What is the three facts that we look into? Ideal seedbed preparation, precision nutrient placement, and optimal root zone conditioning. Now, just to give it a bit more study, we came together with a couple of growers and a farmer here, and we discussed, what is the idea, what do we want to do? Now, the size of the land, as you guys can see on the presentation, we used this. The land was 16 hectares. Now, each trial that we did was about 68 meters long, 4 rows, So we pretty much use the 401 tripper with fertilizer bins. Just to give you guys more of an idea, we will be getting to that. And now, in those 68 meters, 4 rows, we did 170 different trial types. Now, in those, we did a mixture of maize and soybeans. It took time. It did. Here's a bit of more information when we started. So we started pretty much with the strip tillage here 28th of October with a 4-row strip till. There you can see there's an image of what the 4-row strip till machine looks like. And yes, we placed different. Now, just to go back, our whole idea here was what would it do? What does the root zone or the hair roots, I think that's what we would say, if I'm correctly on that, Mike, is actually we focus on the roots, the root zone, correct?
You got it.
So that is what is our focus is in the beginning is, what is the root zone going to look like? And here's the 4 different types of depths that we focused on. 250 millimeters deep. The amount of fertilizer was exactly the same, constant right through the depths. Just below that, you'll see that the type of fertilizer we used. That was the 301 47. And just to see, going back up to that first topic is the 4 different types of depths that we placed that fertilizer at. 250 millimeters, 180 millimeters, 110 millimeters. Now, we placed the fertilizer, we actually placed the fertilizer at those certain depths with the amount of 120 kgs per hectare of fertilizer. We did a 4th run at a 250 millimeter of depth with no fertilizer. We got a bit of data, captured that, and just to, talking about we got a bit of data, and Mike, you can help me out on this one, is Orthman is the only tillage company, precision tillage, that actually do these type of trials worldwide, correct? Am I right on that, Mike? You can maybe help me on that.
As far as I know, yes, we're we're the only ones doing it in South Africa, and we're pretty much one of the top 1 or 2 in the United States.
Yep. So yes, just to get more information on the right-hand side, the strip till machine, we placed 120 kilograms of fertilizer here at the 28th of the 10th, which is October. Then we still went through with the planter, and we did a pop-up 250 here in December, early December. So when it came to planting season, where did our focus was is, what type of seed are we planting, how much seeds per hectare, soil temperatures, and moisture. So just to give it a bit of more information on that is, now you guys can see, right, we did 50,000 seeds per hectare, the type of hybrid, the same right across through the band, is a deculp, if I'm correct. And soil temperature. I think, this plays a huge role. Mike, you can, obviously coming from an agronomy side, just touching on these last two topics on this, soil temperatures and moisture. With our soil temperature that we used, or that we checked, was at 14 degrees, and the moisture at 40% moisture.
Yes, it's really important for all growers that we get seed placed in a warmer seed bed. Most corn varieties want to germinate at about 11 or 12 degrees Celsius. And Brian was able to get it in the ground. It was 14 degrees, and which helped that probably pop right out of the ground right away, along with the fertilizer that was placed with it. All of that is so important on how then the roots are going to develop and protrude themselves down into the soil profile.
Correct. And, talking about, to shoot itself right out of the ground, just to come back to that, 4 days. 4 days.
Yeah.
From day of planting.
Incredibly important.
Correct. So yes, now we're just going to go a little bit more in depth. The timing of our field observations. It took a lot of time. Back and forth. Now we're seeing, where we at. 3rd of December. That's when we planted. And now we did a bit of more inside research that Mike and myself worked together with this information. And the initial population of seed that came up. Now, what we did is, I know I haven't added to this, we did it actually up to 13 meters as well. But you can see there how many seeds or germinated and came up in 6 meters. 23 plants. How much came up in 4 meters? 16 plants. Then we did a bit of more research, did a bit more digging. How many, at what stage was these, what do you call it?
Observations.
Correct. And we saw that 4 leaves showing at a V3, yes. Correct?
Yes.
So pretty much, yes, the observation was 3 leaves, but we only had 3 collars on the stalk, which was the exposure of what we could see at that time. Now, just to give you guys a bit more what was the row spacing? Yes, row spacing was perfect. And I invite everyone to come out to the trial farm and please, come and have a look at it, contact us. We can show you guys exactly what we did, how we did it. And so yes, this is number 1, just, going through, row spacing, 30, 60, 90, and then 100 at 1.2. So there's a couple of meters that we did and we measured, and but yes, if you start adding all these things up, it's a lot of information. Now we're just going through rainfall. How much rainfall? Just to show you guys. There's a lot of data that we collect. There's the temperatures that we received from November till March. Now you can see exactly where those plants, not here, what rainfall we received and what the heat temperatures was at that time. And we could see exactly how that plant germinated and grew through its stages. I think that was the most important factor for us, is to see exactly what does it do during those months. As you can see, November, December, we had very low rainfall. October as well. So the rainfall was very low. We're keeping the moisture in the ground between the rows. We're not disturbing it. We're making a seed bed where we can get a seed to soil contact. We're helping the plant to germinate quicker. We're placing the nutrients in the ground. Now, I think that is very ideal to when it comes to rainfall and nutrient placement. You'll see here January and February we had a lot more rainfall. So the plants did, you know, they were a lot healthier and pulled through. So this is now where it all comes into why strip till between conventional. I think a lot of guys ask that question, and you know, we are trying to help everyone, and we are. We want to, you know, help guys, teach them, you know, where's the benefits, and you know, what can we do going forward. And if you'll see this image on the right hand side, and it was a true image that we have seen this year here. On the one side of the fence was conventional, and the other side of the fence was strip till. And please feel free to go online on our Facebook page, and you can see the video is there. You know, as much as we want, rainfall is in South Africa a virtue. So our focus on strip till is let's get the rainfall, all that moisture, into the ground, stored where the strip is. Where instead, with conventional, Mike, you can help me on this one, but with conventional, if I understand, is now you're breaking up the compounds of that soil, and when the rain comes, it actually forms like concrete, and it locks within each other, and when the rain falls on conventional, it just washes off. It can't filter through into the ground. Am I correct?
Yes. What happens, as Brian is explaining, that the soil particles have been broken down with not having their gluing agents hold it together, and it puddles, as you can see in the picture that Brian's got on the screen, and it takes a certain amount of hydraulic force then of water to stand on top of that soil before it pushes or forces itself into the soil profile. And what has been created is a term that comes out of soil physics and also forest fires called hydrophobicity. So it is a phobia that the soil can't absorb the water fast enough to get it into the ground. Now, with strip tillage, we're not beating it up, we're not turning it over, we're not rolling it. We have a chance to allow the soil to have its natural aggregate structure, and that helps water infiltrate.
Yeah. Our next slide is, now we did a bit more in-depth research, thanks to Mike giving me some of the inside information, what I need to do, how do I need to do it. So we did a bit of a digging expo, I don't know what you want to call it, but we went out into the field, very hot, sunny day. Yeah, I think we dug it about how many, I think it was on each plot, it was 11 plants, correct, Mike?
Yes.
Phew, man, was it hot that day. Anyway, so yeah, so this is exactly, here's some images. I just want to discuss about exactly what I've seen. Mike can fill in if I've got something a little wrong here. So the images that you see on the left-hand side is the 180 depth. So you'll see what happens is now is we've placed that fertilizer at a certain depth, and now the hair roots has actually grown. I do apologize, I do not have an image of the one where I had the 250, but we'll get to another slide with that. We had a huge difference between the hair roots on the 180 and the 250, where the 180 had a lot more, yes, it had a seed bed, but you could see it went to the nutrients. It went down to find the nutrients and to absorb the food for it to, you know, like a factory. It's pretty much like a factory, so that it can keep growing and growing. Mike, do you have anything to fill on this?
Sure. As you can see in the left-hand side of the slide that where Brian's got the tape measure. The roots were quite prolific on those first seedling roots. And what that does is help get that plant rocking and rolling so that the nodal roots, then if you look at the lower left-hand side of Brian holding his hand there with the root system, at the top, right between his first finger and his middle finger, there is nodal roots that are starting to come out. At that time, those are the roots that were going to go deep. And so we were sufficiently supplying the nutrients at that 180 millimeter depth so that those would get started early and get going down into the soil profile to pick up more nutrients, pick up more water, and be able to get deep enough so that when you really had extensive heat and long days of sun, Brian,
Yep.
this plant was going to really exceed and do well.
Correct. And coming back on that, Mike, what you just said with heat and sun, with those 3 months having very low rainfall, we could see that, especially when it came to your we did another test with V10 to V11, V12, correct, Mike?
Yes.
So when it got to that stage, there was a huge difference in height. You know, just to give a bit more information on that, you know, the 110 was, you know, it grew itself out. It was about way taller than me. Then, you know, the 180 was also a little taller, but the 250 was short. It was about the same height as me. And that's obviously because the nutrients was too far down. Am I correct on that, Mike?
Yes.
So that's a lot of information that we've been doing. We are still carrying out trials, and we're still doing research. You know, once we are done with all this, we will share it with everyone. Please go on our Facebook, YouTube. We will share it with everyone. Before let's just carry on. Stage 4. This was done on the 18th of December. Now you can see the differences in the roots. On the left-hand side was the 250. Now exactly what Mike discussed earlier on. You can see the differences between the 250, 110, 180, and the 250 with no fertilizer. Sorry, no fertilizer is on my left. So exactly what's happening, if you see the two centered, the 110, 180 has the nutrients close up. The roots are perfect on both 110, 180, and on the 250s, it started moving out to the sides to start getting the moisture and the nutrients from the side. And that's pretty much what I've witnessed here and what we've seen. Mike, I don't know if you've obviously had a couple of other things that you saw here as well, correct?
Yes. One of the things that I pointed out to Brian, and I'd like to point out to you guys over in South Africa, when we place nutrients at 110 or 180, as you look at the remnant of the seed that is in, as you can see on the tailgate of his truck, that remnant has not been totally used up. In comparison to when we go over to the 250 millimeter depth with no fertilizer, the remnant of the seed is wrinkled and shriveled and there's nothing left. So that plant early on was still needing to use all of the endosperm that was in that seed to continue its life and be able to help grow roots and grow leaves above the ground. But in the 110, it didn't have to require using all of that, and the roots got to the nutrients, and then they were able to expose and get the plant above ground to really start developing better and better. That's one of the things that we've been noticing over the past probably 15 years, that when we place nutrients, both with the pre-plant and also then with a starter, we don't have to have that plant exhaust itself
Yeah.
and essentially try to catch up. So
Yes.
that's an important feature that we know how we place nutrients, and why we want to place them at 110 or 180 is very, very important.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a great point, Mike. Sorry, Mike's teaching me a lot of stuff, and I'm learning from him. So that is a great point, and I do remember that, and that was very interesting. Is that, you know, just to come back on that topic, is that it actually uses the seed's nutrients to grow, right?
Yes, yes.
So, right, let's keep going. Here's exactly just the same. Just, you know, we're just showing another image of it from a bit, you know, when we measured it out. You'll see on the left-hand side, from the tip of the root to the top of the ear on top is, I think it was about 4 centimeters, 400, correct, Mike?
400 millimeters?
Yeah,
Kinda
400
looks like it.
millimeters. There we go. So this is just a bit more details, you know, exactly what actually goes behind the scenes, how we measure it, what we do, and all that.
Well, Brian, one of the things that we want to explain to folks is early on, when we place nutrients and use strip till, we want to be able to nearly 1.5 to 2 times the dimension of what's above ground goes below ground. So we're really wanting to expand that root system to get as deep as we can, because everything's important, especially in South Africa, that we can get deep and use deep moisture, and then be able to expand that root system so that it will last. And I believe everybody wants to grow 10 ton to 12 ton corn overseas, and that way you can make a profit. You know, if you don't get that root system to nearly double, we don't have a chance to make the ear and the rest of the plant as prolific as we really want. One of the things that Brian and I talked about with this particular slide, folks, is that, as you can see in this picture, now it's here in the States, but we had side-by-side comparisons of looking at strip till versus conventional tillage. And in this particular picture, it had rained the day before approximately 5 centimeters. And the day of it, this is the day after that, it came along and rained again, and it rained right at 3 centimeters, but it did it in 20 minutes. I'm out there taking this picture 10 minutes after that rain had stopped. And you can see that in the strip till, the soil is absorbing the water, it's taking it in. We've got very, very little puddling. And then on the right is the conventional tillage. This is important because what you see right underneath where it says conventional tillage, that water was running out of the field like a gusher. And we were losing nutrients, we were losing soil, and we were losing valuable water. So it's important to know that strip till enhances the porosity. It helps the soil absorb water better. And we want to be able to capture all that water to go in the soil profile. So that's what is an incredible change. Now, we don't see that happen perfectly the first year of folks going into strip till, but we see it happening year 2, 3, 4 on down the line. And now with some of the growers that have been doing strip till for 20 to 23 years, it'll capture rain so fast that it hardly even moves even on a slope. So it's vital to know that this system approach that Brian and I are talking about and helping share with you guys and gals works for water. It really does.
Correct. And that's just comes back just on that image of yours, Mike. It just comes back to, you know, what you had discussions is that earlier on with that water filtration that we had, that little image. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up.
Go to your next slide. So what you guys have observed and seen and experienced with the wind erosion that's in that top picture versus the one also on the ground, that is a good picture of what we call soil saltation, where the soil particles, whether they're sand or silt, they start to tumble. And as they tumble, they hit the soil and they bounce off of the next particle and cause it to move. And that's why we get the drifting up into the air. And that movement that you see, it's anywhere from 30 to 50 centimeters off the ground, and it acts like a saw, and it cuts off the greenery that you see in that picture, and it also moves soil particles, and along with it, then it's taking clay or silt and nutrients that are absorbed and held by those particular particles. So that soil loss is something that we can cut back. We don't want to lose that soil carbon that's in the soil, whether it's old residue or smaller residue fragments.
Yep.
We know that it can have human health issues. Here in the United States, about 30 years ago, where I live in Colorado, there was an extreme bad windstorm, and we have a north-south 6-lane interstate that there were car pileups from automobile accidents, and in one car pileup there were 6 people that were killed, and it was just due to soil erosion. So human health issues are impacted. Crop losses, especially if this happens early in the season, we can lose the crop because, again, like I said, that sand and silt is moving along and bouncing. It acts like a buzzsaw and just cuts the plants off, and then we're losing nutrients. So all of it is something that we're very conscious of with Orthman Manufacturing, and Brian knows that what we can do with keeping that residue on the soil surface, because we only disturb about 25 to 30% of the soil surface with the one tripper.
Correct.
And then that residue holds still, and we can reduce wind and water erosion upwards of 90%. So that's a very important thing. Go to your next slide.
Yeah, and just to go on that, we have that same issue here in South Africa. So great information on that, Mike. And we have a lot of growers that's contacting us today, especially up in that area, Hoopstad, Wesselsbron, Bothaville, Bultfontein. And that, I think that is a great, the one tripper is a great machine for that area.
So we're changing gears here just a little bit, but wanted to draw your attention to on the left picture, left-hand side of the screen, that we focus on 2 different zones of nutrient placement as probably the premium way to accomplish this. Not everybody can, not everybody wants to, and that's fine. But the reason is, in the first 15 to 20 days of growth in that green triangle that you see both on the left and then in the upper right in the explanation of this, we're really wanting to place a certain amount of nutrients that are there. Now, we can do that with the planter, or we can do it also with the strip till tool, so that we accentuate those early root growth from V1 to V4. Now, the reason is, in those early stages, especially micronutrients, are taken up into the plant very early on, like zinc, boron, manganese, calcium. It's not a micronutrient, but calcium is, and also some sulfur. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons we know now, crop physiology wise, those micronutrients move very slowly within the plant. So we've got to get it into the plant early.
Yes. Then
in the blue triangle, which is anywhere from 10 centimeters down to almost 30 centimeters. We want to be able to have that nutrient pocket, so to speak, where the little ball is inside that blue triangle, help with those next 20 to 25 days and get that to grow so that we set the kernel count around the cob, the number of rows at the proper stage. That's usually at 45 days after emergence, because maize hybrids are known to set that at that time. Now, there are certain hybrids that will set 16 rows versus 18 versus 20 and maybe even 22. Not all hybrids do that. Depends upon what they call their flex characteristics. But we want to be able to have nutrients placed right where those roots are going to be growing and actively absorbing nutrients for that time period.
Yep.
And that's why we at Orthman have really promoted the idea that dual placing fertilizer is probably one of the smartest ways to accomplish that. And we can do it with the one tripper along with the planter.
Correct.
So we become more efficient. We become more cost wise, and all of that to help you as a grower do a better job of growing your crops.
Yep.
We revert back a little bit, but you can see when runoff really gets bad, when you've got a real flash thunderstorm during your summer months, we can lose soil. It transports around in the soil profile, as you can see back up about probably 3 meters from the edge of this photo, that siltation was happening, and we were getting this ponding effect, and then eventually it broke, and then now we've got this pouring off. It's just it's not conscionable that we allow this to happen, especially if you thought you had to buy soil from the store. Like if you're going to buy soil to help augment your garden, or you're going to put it in pots and grow tomatoes or whatever around your house, that stuff's expensive.
Correct.
And the same way here, if we start losing soil, it's hard to replace.
Yep.
So what's the best way to place nutrients? The easiest way is probably to broadcast. As you can see with that spin rig on the backside of the tractor, it's probably the easiest, but it's the most inaccurate. And when we can place nutrients like what you see in the top photo with the C&H tractor and the one tripper, we're putting it in the zone where the roots are going to grow, because the roots need to be in the presence of nutrients, not hunting and digging for it, because a plant just can't do that. Corn plants or soybean plants do not have eyes on the end of the roots to find it. They've got to run into it. So why not put it right in front of it so it hits it for sure? Correct. The lower right-hand picture, what have you got there? Usually if it's not a cover crop and you're using it, you planted it for a purpose, they're weeds, and they're going to take that broadcast fertilizer that was spread over the top, and they're going to get access to it first before your corn plant. Losses, inefficiency.
Correct. And you know, I'm not 100% sure exactly the whole calculation, but Mike, obviously your plant will need a bit more nutrients, or let's say you have a certain amount of nutrients that your plant needs, and now you go and broadcast. You need to broadcast a lot more than what you need to if you can just band it in the strip. Correct?
That's right. That's right. What we normally see, Brian, here in the States and overseas, that we become probably needing anywhere from 120 to 150% of what you would use if you were banding it. Or if you want to turn it around, we can become so much more efficient by banding it that we use less, because you're putting it right where the plant needs it.
Correct.
So what we're advocating here is that real smart soil management probably runs with about 8 concepts. We're also going to talk about the 4Rs in just a little bit, but we're wanting to make sure that we provide you, the grower, solutions that you reduce your loss because you're reducing tillage, especially below ground. We're reducing nutrient losses because we're incorporating that fertilizer under the soil surface to get it to a point where the plant can really take it up more efficiently. We're improving water infiltration, or you could turn it around. With too much tillage, we're going to have poor water infiltration due to the fact that we're beating the soil up and causing it to smear or cause a crust. All of those things reduce infiltration rate and the chance to be able to store water.
Yeah.
We're reducing downstream water contamination. Here in the United States, that's an incredible issue, especially in the Mississippi Delta.
Yep.
But I would imagine the same thing is happening overseas and what you guys have in South Africa.
Yep.
So we're wanting to reduce that. Go to the next slide. Also, we haven't touched upon it today, but with our one tripper and the shank that we have and the point that is developed, we're working to alleviate root zone compaction. We know that our tool will lift and fracture that and then cause it to disrupt going back into the wavy coulters as you move through the field, creating a good root zone.
Yep.
We can reduce soil erosion down to about 1 ton per hectare. Now, that maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but in some instances it is, especially when you've got very shallow soils where you might have bedrock in the upper meter of the soil profile. Every single aggregate of soil is so important at that point.
Yeah.
We're minimizing or maybe even get to a point where we can stop uneven emergence because we create a seed bed that's going to give you good soil to seed contact, and that helps better germination. Because if you remember back early when Brian was talking about his germination, he was shooting for 50,000 seeds per hectare, or was it 60? I'm trying to remember.
50.
Okay, you were getting that. I think probably every seed came up, which I applaud. That's very good. And then lastly, since fertilizer costs have gone up dramatically in the last year, almost the last 6 months, we're promoting that when we place fertilizer in the right spot, we become a chance to maximize our efficiency and minimize those inputs. Because there aren't very many people worldwide that can afford huge fertilizer bills with the price of corn that it is, or soybeans or anything else. Now, those prices have come up, but there's no farmer, I think, that I know of that is walking to the bank, smoking cigars and burning them with $20 US bills. That ain't happening.
No, not today.
Not today.
Yeah.
Go to the next slide. So to reiterate and help explain a little bit more, and also do like the school teacher has taught Brian and I, you tell them once and then you tell them twice and then you ask them to know what those 2 times they got heard. This is a little bit better graphic of why we want to be able to place nutrients. In that root system that's in the green triangle, we like to place nutrients right in the middle of that. Yes. And that's about 10 centimeters to 12 centimeters high, and it reaches out right at 30 centimeters on either side of the plant. We're affecting that segment of the root system. And then when we place nutrients deep, anywhere from 15 to 30 centimeters deep, you can see that with that blue zone that's there, we're putting the nutrients right there for that later root system. Now, a corn root system, for instance, let's talk about that, creates 5 nodal roots, or nodal roots that go around the stalk, and can create up to 60 roots per plant. I've studied that incredibly intense over the last 15 years, and I want to be able to help you guys understand that when we place nutrients with where the blue triangle is, we help nodal roots 3, nodal roots 4, and nodal roots 5. Out of those, we are creating about 40 roots at potential. We want to make sure that nodals 3, 4, and 5 are the roots that go deep. Nodal roots 1 and 2 stay shallow in that green triangle. So what we're doing is really checking what the crop physiology and what the crop genetics will accomplish, and we want to accentuate that. So putting there in the right spot, we know that the nutrients are going to be there, and we're going to be able to get a root system that is conditioned properly for you to be able to do a magnificent job with your corn production. I think overseas in South Africa, you guys would love to be able to hit 16 to 20 ton per hectare. Now, it's going to take some more rain, but the potential's there, guys, when we really create a root system. Go to your next slide, Brian. So this graphic Brian has for you is to look at what the green zone is, the shallow fertility, and as it fades from left to right, we're telling you that it's fading out and not being very prolific at its root system later in the life of the plant. The blue zone shows that we are below the plant root system for the first bit of the plant's life, and when it gets into more maturity, we're really feeding the plant to be able to access that nutrient. So it has season-long fertility effects, and that's important of what strip till does with precise placement.
Yeah.
Go ahead, next slide.
All right,
Go
and
ahead,
this,
Brian.
Yeah, sorry, Mike, if you can go ahead.
Here in the United States, and I believe all over the world, especially the Plant Nutrient Institute now has been able to talk about this. I know that the United Nations is talking about it a lot, is the 4 R's.
Yeah.
The right source, the right rate, the right time, and the right place.
Correct.
We match that perfectly.
Yep.
We're really urging growers to understand that when you use a strip till system, preferably with the Orthman toolbar, we really match all of those things to keep your nutrients right where the crop's going to use them.
Correct.
So we place it for the needs.
Yep.
We put the right amount there.
And the right type of
We're
food.
matching the right nutrient and getting it where the plant's going to be able to use it.
Yep. No, and I think this is a really important factor on that the whole graph, if you want to call it like that, Mike. You know, the right source, right rate, right time, right place. I think these 4 is one of my greatest topics on strip till is, you know, these four topics. I think no one else can beat this.
Well, Brian, that's why you were doing this study. You wanted to prove this, and I believe that you know, when the combine goes through the field here in the next few weeks, overseas there in South Africa, you're going to prove that out. And I'm eager. I'm not dancing on my toes yet, but I'm eager to hear what your results are, because what you showed me in pictures when we talked on the phone and via other methods, your ears, those corn ears, are showing where that nutrient was, made a difference in the size and the number of kernels, because that's the proof of the pudding.
Yeah, no, definitely, and it's proven it to me. Those 4 factors, it's proven to me. I've seen it, and you know, I think that's something that a person needs to really sit down at home in their office, look at it, go through those 4 facts. Exactly, you know, where's your fertilizer placed? Is it placed at the right time, the right place? Is it the right type of fertilizer for you, the type of crop that you're using? So I think, you know, that is great information, Mike. Right, just to, you know, I know time's running a bit out here, and just want to show you guys the different options that we have where we can apply fertilizer. As Mike said, in the early time, we have the 2 zones, which is focused more on the liquid system. And then we have, that is on number 1. Number 2 is obviously our granular. I know on the image it's a bit far, but there is a little liquid pipe, or some guys use it for NH3 gas. So there's some guys today in South Africa that uses it. Right, this is pretty much nearly our last topic, and understanding and improving the response through the precision tillage system. And I'm just bringing it straight back to ideal seed bed preparation, precision nutrient placement, and optimal root zone conditioning. So where's our focus? Is at those 3 points. And then in those three points, it comes those 4 factors that we just spoke about right now. So yes, Mike, thank you. I appreciate it. And just to give more information is, our markets specific in agronomy, we like doing education with our dealers, with our partners, with growers. So yes, that's what we are here for, and we're looking forward into the year coming ahead. Is to focus that we have another trial farm somewhere else. And on our last slide, it's a tough act to follow, guys. Let Orthman help you by modifying your management practices, increasing your efficiency and profits, while reducing your environmental impact. For more resources, contact us. Please feel free to visit Mike Peterson's website, www.precisiontillage.com. Excellent information. Mike, thank you very much for joining us. I really do appreciate all the information and the time that you put into this. And yes, and we'll see you guys next time.
You bet. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Out here, when you've got a problem, you need a solution. And when there's a need, there's an opportunity. This farm has been here for over 50 years. Orthman Manufacturing started on this land, in this barn, and with one man convinced there's got to be a better way. What started with the Orthman family farm has grown into 50 years of farming innovation and quality, and a manufacturer helping growers be more efficient around the world. Just because something's been done before doesn't mean it's been done right. And that's where Orthman found the passion for innovation. And the spark of an idea changed an entire industry. We understand the power and performance you need and the excellence and quality you deserve. The smallest of details are important to us. Shapes, corners, edges, every last detail. There's a standard of excellence, and we take pride in setting the bar and pushing beyond it. Using the latest in design technology, Orthman is continuing a 50-year tradition of innovation for farmers. From the basics to the breakthroughs. Like hollow structural tubing that has now become a standard in the industry. The durability and long life of Orthman row crop cultivators. Our innovative stacked fold toolbar technology. And the common sense utility of the track tiller. Orthman is constantly going one step further, leading the way by developing innovative GPS guidance systems or the unparalleled performance of the one-tripper precision strip till machine. A machine that pioneered strip tillage around the world. And the tradition of Orthman's innovation doesn't end there. No matter what challenges lay ahead, Orthman will continue to lead the way. Your common problems have a unique solution. That's Orthman. Now let's get to work.